What if I told you that most of your suffering is completely optional? That you've been adding layers of pain to inevitable life experiences without even realizing it? And what if 5 simple but profound teachings from the Buddha could free you from this self-created suffering and transform how you experience every single day? Stay with me until the end, because I'm going to reveal the one practice that ties all these teachings together, the master key that can unlock a life of peace, presence, and authentic power. If you're ready to discover practical Buddhist wisdom that can genuinely change your life starting today, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. I share transformative teachings every week that go beyond theory into real, applicable wisdom. Now, let's dive into these 5 life-changing teachings. Imagine this scene. You're walking barefoot and you step on a sharp stone. There's an immediate flash of pain. That pain is unavoidable. It's the natural response of your body to the physical injury. But then, what happens next? Most of us don't just experience the pain and move on. We start a whole internal narrative. Why wasn't I watching where I was going? I'm so clumsy. This always happens to me. Now, my whole walk is ruined. What if I cut my foot? What if it gets infected? Why does nothing ever go smoothly for me? On and on the mind goes, creating story after story, adding layer upon layer of mental and emotional suffering on top of the original physical pain. The Buddha called this the second arrow. He said that when an arrow strikes you, you feel pain. That's the first arrow, and it's unavoidable. Life will shoot first arrows at you constantly. Physical pain, illness, disappointment, loss, these are part of being human. But then we pick up a second arrow and we shoot ourselves with it. That second arrow is all the mental suffering we add through our thoughts, our resistance, our stories, our why me thinking, our catastrophizing, our dwelling. And here's the profound insight. While you can't always avoid the first arrow, you can absolutely choose not to shoot yourself with the second one. This teaching changes everything once you truly understand it. It means that a huge portion of what you're experiencing as suffering is actually optional. It's self-inflicted. Not because you're doing something wrong, but because you haven't been taught to distinguish between the inevitable pain of life and the optional suffering created by your mind's response to that pain. Let me give you a contemporary example that probably feels very familiar. You send a text message to someone important to you, a friend, a romantic partner, a family member. They don't respond for several hours. The first arrow might be a small pang of disappointment or concern. That's natural, that's human. But then what does your mind do? It starts creating stories. They're ignoring me. They must be mad at me. Maybe they don't care about me anymore. What did I do wrong? They're probably talking to other people, but not me. I'm not important to them. Each of these thoughts is a second arrow you're shooting at yourself. Hours of anxiety, hurt feelings, even anger, all self-created. Then they finally respond with, "Sorry, my phone died," or "Was in a meeting, what's up?" And you realize all that suffering was entirely unnecessary. The first arrow was tiny, a moment of, "Oh, they haven't responded yet." Everything else was second arrows. Now, imagine living your life with the awareness to catch yourself before you pick up that second arrow. Imagine being able to experience the first arrow, the inevitable pain or disappointment. Acknowledge it, feel it, and then consciously choose not to add the mental suffering on top of it. This is possible. This is what the Buddha was teaching, and it starts with awareness. You have to develop the ability to notice when your mind is picking up that second arrow, to catch yourself in the act of creating a story, of catastrophizing, of dwelling, of adding mental suffering to a situation that's already challenging enough. This doesn't mean suppressing your feelings or pretending everything is fine. It means distinguishing between what's actually happening and what your mind is making up about what's happening. It means feeling your emotions without getting lost in the stories about those emotions. It means experiencing pain without creating suffering. This practice alone can reduce your suffering dramatically, not by changing your circumstances, but by changing your relationship to your circumstances. And it connects directly to the second teaching, which is about impermanence. One of the fundamental truths the Buddha taught is that everything changes. Nothing is permanent. Not your body, not your relationships, not your circumstances, not your thoughts, not your emotions. Everything is in constant flux. This might sound depressing at first, but it's actually incredibly liberating once you truly grasp it. Think about why we suffer so much when we lose something or someone. Yes, there's the natural grief of loss, that's the first arrow. But so much of the suffering comes from our belief that things should have stayed the same, that we should have been able to hold on to what we had, that permanence was possible and we somehow failed to achieve it. We create suffering by fighting against the fundamental nature of reality. We want our youth to last forever. We want our relationships to never change. We want our good health to be permanent. We want our success to be guaranteed. We want our happiness to be constant. And because none of these things are possible, because everything is impermanent, we suffer from constantly trying to freeze-frame reality. But what if you accepted impermanence instead of fighting it? What if you embraced the truth that everything changes? Something profound happens. You stop taking things for granted. When you truly accept that this relationship, this health, this moment of joy, this beautiful sunset, this day with your loved ones, when you accept that none of these are permanent, that they're all temporary gifts, you start showing up differently. You become more present, more grateful, more appreciative. You stop waiting for the perfect moment to express love or appreciation because you understand that this moment is all you have. I remember my grandmother in her final years. She had this way of savoring everything. A cup of tea, a conversation, a sunny day. She would say, "This is so lovely," about the simplest things. At first, I thought it was just the sweetness of old age. But then I realized she was living with a profound awareness of impermanence. She knew her time was limited, that these simple moments wouldn't last forever, and that awareness made her fully present with each one. She wasn't waiting for something better. She wasn't taking anything for granted. She was there, fully, appreciating what was while it was. That's the gift of accepting impermanence. And here's the paradox. When you stop trying to make things permanent, when you stop clinging desperately to experiences and people and circumstances, you actually enjoy them more fully, because you're not corrupting the present moment with anxiety about losing it. You're not half present because you're worried about the future. You're here now, appreciating what is, while it is. This doesn't mean you don't feel sadness when things end. You do. That's the first arrow, and it's unavoidable and appropriate. But you don't add the second arrow of, "This shouldn't be happening," or, "I should have been able to prevent this," or, "I'll never be happy again." You understand that endings are natural, that they're built into the fabric of existence, that they make space for new beginnings. The flower that blooms also wilts. The relationship that begins also changes and perhaps ends. The job you love will one day conclude. The body that's strong will age. None of this is a failure or a tragedy. It's just the nature of things. And when you align yourself with that nature instead of fighting it, you find a deep peace underneath all the changing circumstances of your life. This understanding naturally leads to the third teaching. Peace is not found outside yourself. This is perhaps the most revolutionary and misunderstood teaching. We've been conditioned our entire lives to believe that happiness comes from external things. Get the right job, make enough money, find the right partner, buy the nice house, achieve the impressive goal, look the attractive way, and then you'll be happy. Then you'll have peace. Then you'll finally feel okay. So, we spend our lives chasing these external conditions, believing they hold the key to our inner state. But here's what actually happens. You achieve the goal. You get the thing. You reach the milestone. And there's a momentary rush of happiness, a brief satisfaction. And then what? The happiness fades, you adapt, the new becomes normal. And you're back to feeling however you felt before. Maybe even worse, because now you're dealing with the disappointment of realizing that the thing you thought would make you happy didn't actually deliver lasting peace. So what do? You identify the next external thing that will surely be the key. Once I get that promotion, then I'll be happy. Once I lose this weight, then I'll feel good. Once I find the right person, then I'll be complete. And the cycle continues. The Buddha saw through this trap 2,500 years ago. He taught that looking for lasting peace in external conditions is like trying to find water in a mirage. It looks promising from a distance, but when you get there, there's nothing. Not because the things themselves are bad, but because they're impermanent, they're outside your control, and they're not designed to provide the deep, stable peace you're seeking. That peace can only come from within. It comes from developing your inner stability, your inner calm, your inner sense of okayness that doesn't depend on circumstances going your way. Think about it logically. If your peace depends on external conditions, you'll never be at peace for long because you can't control external conditions. The job ends or becomes stressful. The relationship changes or concludes. The health declines. The money comes and goes. The appearance ages. Everything external is subject to change and is ultimately beyond your complete control. So, basing your peace on external conditions is setting yourself up for perpetual instability and suffering. But if you develop an internal source of peace, a peace that comes from how you relate to your experiences rather than from the experiences themselves, now you have something stable, something that can weather any storm. This doesn't mean you stop enjoying external things or stop working toward goals. It means you stop believing those things are the source of your peace. You enjoy them while they're here, you work toward meaningful goals, but your fundamental okayness doesn't depend on them. You're already okay right now, regardless of your circumstances. That's the revolution. That's the freedom. And it's available to you in this moment, not someday in the future when everything aligns perfectly. So, how do you develop this inner peace? It starts with turning your attention inward. Most of us are constantly focused outward on what's happening around us, what we need to get, what we need to change, what other people are doing. But peace is an inside job. It requires spending time in silence, in stillness, getting to know yourself, observing your mind, understanding your patterns, connecting with that deeper part of you that exists beyond all the mental chatter and emotional turbulence. This is what meditation is for, not to escape reality, but to discover the peace that already exists within you, underneath all the noise. And this brings us to the fourth teaching, which is about the power of your thoughts. The Buddha said, "We are what we think." All that we are arises with our thoughts. With our thoughts, we make the world. This is a teaching about the creative power of your mind. Your thoughts are not just passive observations of reality. They're actively shaping your reality, your experience, your perception, your emotions, your actions, and ultimately your life. Imagine your mind as a garden. Every thought you think is a seed you're planting. Some seeds will grow into beautiful flowers, thoughts of kindness, gratitude, possibility, love, compassion. Some seeds will grow into weeds, thoughts of resentment, fear, judgment, scarcity, self-criticism. And here's the key: you're the gardener. You get to choose, at least to a significant degree, which seeds you plant and which ones you water. Most people don't realize they have this choice. They think thoughts just happen to them, that they have no control over their mental landscape. But that's not true. You can't control every thought that arises. Thoughts will pop up automatically based on your conditioning, your past, your current circumstances. But you can absolutely choose which thoughts you give your attention to, which ones you believe, which ones you follow, which ones you water. If a thought of self-criticism arises, you can notice it and let it pass like a cloud, or you can grab onto it, believe it, ruminate on it, build an entire narrative around it. That's your choice. If a thought of gratitude arises, you can barely notice it and move on, or you can pause, let it expand, really feel it, let it shape your moment. That's your choice. Let me give you a practical example. You wake up in the morning, and one of the first thoughts is, I don't want to deal with today. I'm tired. This is going to be hard. That's a seed. If you water that seed, if you think about all the hard things you have to do, if you dwell on your tiredness, if you build a story about how difficult your life is, that seed will grow into a day of resistance and struggle. But what if you catch that thought and consciously plant a different seed? Yes, I'm tired, but I'm grateful to be alive. I have things to do, which means I have purpose. I'll take it one step at a time. That's a different seed, and it will grow into a different experience of your day. This isn't toxic positivity or denying reality. It's about recognizing that you have more influence over your mental landscape than you've been taught. You're not just a victim of your thoughts. You're the gardener of your mind. And the quality of your life is largely determined by the quality of your mental garden. So the question becomes, what are you planting? What are you watering? Are you cultivating thoughts of possibility, gratitude, compassion, growth? Or are you cultivating thoughts of victimhood, resentment, fear, limitation? Here's a powerful question for you, and I want you to really reflect on this and share in the comments. What's one recurring thought pattern that you know is creating suffering in your life? What's that thought you keep thinking that makes you feel worse, that keeps you stuck, that steals your peace? And what would you rather plant in its place? Write it down below, because awareness is the first step toward change, and sharing creates accountability. Understanding the power of your thoughts naturally leads to taking more responsibility for your inner landscape. You realize that while you can't control everything that happens to you, you have tremendous influence over how you respond, what you focus on, what meaning you make of events, and what narrative you tell yourself about your life. This is empowering. It shifts you from feeling like a victim of circumstance to recognizing yourself as a creator of your experience. But here's where many people get stuck. They understand these teachings intellectually. They can explain impermanence. They know about the second arrow. They've heard that peace comes from within. They understand the power of thoughts. But they don't embody these truths because they're still looking outside themselves for the authority, for the validation, for the permission to trust their own understanding and experience. And this brings us to the fifth and perhaps most important teaching. Be your own light. The Buddha's final teaching to his disciples was, "Be a lamp unto yourself." Don't follow me blindly. Don't look to external authorities to tell you what to do or who to be. Don't outsource your spiritual growth to someone else. Take the teachings, test them in your own experience, trust your own intuition, develop your own understanding, become your own guide. This is perhaps the most radical teaching of all because it goes against everything we're conditioned to do. From childhood, we're taught to look outside ourselves for answers. We're taught that teachers, parents, experts, authorities, traditions, books, they hold the truth, and our job is to absorb and obey. We're taught to distrust our own intuition, to question our own experience, to seek validation externally. And this conditioning continues into adulthood. We look to gurus, influencers, experts, systems, ideologies, to tell us how to live, what to think, what to do. We give our power away constantly, believing that someone or something out there knows better than we do about our own lives and our own truth. But the Buddha said no. He said, I can point you toward truth. I can share what I've discovered, but ultimately, you have to walk the path yourself. You have to test these teachings in your own experience. You have to develop your own wisdom. You have to trust your own intuition. You have to become your own spiritual authority. This doesn't mean you're arrogant or you don't learn from others. It means you're sovereign. It means you take in information, guidance, teachings from external sources, but you always run them through your own filter of experience and intuition. You ask, does this resonate with me? Does this align with my experience? Does this feel true in my bones? And you trust your answers. This level of spiritual autonomy is terrifying for many people because it means taking full responsibility. It means you can't just follow a script or a system or a teacher blindly. It means you have to think for yourself, feel for yourself, choose for yourself. It means you might make mistakes, and that's okay because those mistakes will teach you. It means you're not looking for someone to save you, or fix you, or give you all the answers. It means you recognize that you already have access to profound wisdom within yourself, and your job is to develop your ability to access it and trust it. In practical terms, this means paying attention to your inner voice, that quiet knowing that speaks underneath all the mental noise. It means noticing what makes you feel expansive versus contracted. It means honoring your intuition even when it doesn't make logical sense. It means making choices that align with your authentic self even when they're not popular or convenient. It means trusting that you know what you need, that you can feel when something is right or wrong for you, that you have an internal compass that, when you learn to tune into it, will guide you more reliably than any external authority. I'm not saying you shouldn't learn from teachers, read books, seek guidance. You absolutely should. But you should do so as a sovereign being who's gathering information and perspective to inform your own understanding, not as a dependent being who's looking for someone to tell you what to do. You should be in relationship with teachings and teachers, not in submission to them. You should take what resonates, leave what doesn't, and always trust your own experience and intuition as the final arbiter. This is what it means to be your own light. It means you carry your own lamp, you illuminate your own path, you trust your own steps. Yes, you might learn from others' lamps, you might walk alongside others for parts of the journey, you might follow a path that others have walked before you, but ultimately, you're walking your own path, you're making your own choices, you're having your own experience, you're developing your own wisdom. And that's not only okay, it's essential. It's how you become fully yourself. It's how you live authentically. It's how you develop genuine inner authority rather than constantly looking outside yourself. When you integrate all 5 of these teachings, something powerful happens. You stop shooting yourself with second arrows, which dramatically reduces your suffering. You accept impermanence, which allows you to be more present and grateful. You stop looking for peace in external conditions and start cultivating it within, which gives you stability regardless of circumstances. You consciously plant and water positive thoughts, which shapes your experience and your life in constructive directions. And you trust yourself as your own spiritual authority, which allows you to live authentically and courageously. These aren't just nice ideas, they're practices that can transform your daily experience. The key is to actually apply them, not just understand them intellectually. Start noticing when you're shooting yourself with second arrows, and practice just feeling the first arrow without adding the story. Start pausing to appreciate what's in your life right now, knowing it's temporary. Start turning your attention inward for peace, rather than constantly seeking it outside. Start paying attention to your thoughts and consciously choosing which ones to water. Start trusting your own intuition and making choices that honor your authentic self. This won't all happen overnight. These are practices you develop over time, with patience and compassion for yourself. You'll forget and remember, fall back into old patterns and catch yourself, make mistakes and learn from them. That's all part of the journey. The point isn't to be perfect. The point is to be present, to be conscious, to be growing. And every moment is a fresh opportunity to apply these teachings, to choose differently, to experience life with more wisdom and less unnecessary suffering. If you found value in these 5 teachings and want to continue deepening your practice, please subscribe to this channel. I share practical Buddhist wisdom regularly that can help you live with more peace, presence, and authenticity. Your support means everything and helps me continue creating this content. Now, for the secret I promised at the beginning, the master key that unlocks all of these teachings. Here it is. All 5 of these teachings point to the same fundamental truth. You have far more power over your experience than you realize. Not power to control external circumstances, but power to choose your response, power to shape your perception, power to direct your attention, power to cultivate your inner state. The secret is that you're not as powerless as you think. You're not just a victim of life happening to you. You're an active participant in creating your experience moment by moment through your choices about where to place your attention, what thoughts to nurture, what meaning to make, and how to respond. That's the master key. That's the liberation. And it's available to you right now in this very moment. The question is, will you use it?